Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. Megyn Kelly is trying to get herself back in the news again. God knows she's desperate enough. She's pretending to be upset that the Super Bowl featured a performance of the Negro spiritual Lift Every Voice and Sing, which has been nicknamed by many as the Black National Anthem. And of course, being Megyn Kelly, she saw a chance to try to get some cheap clicks by attacking it, because the instant she hears anything about black people, she gets mega triggered and suffers a severe bout of diarrhea of the mouth. She claimed that the song doesn't belong at the Super Bowl. We need something more inclusive like the national anthem. Yeah, a slavery carol written by an anti-abolitionist. Yeah, that'll bring people together, at least white racists like herself. Because she also doesn't think that black people belong at the Super Bowl either, or in society. Phony victimhood is how the white right tries to justify their blatant violence and criminality to further anti-black racism. You can't do any of the things the white supremacists do and still claim to be moral unless you can invent a fake justification where you're somehow being put upon. You didn't want to do all this racist stuff, but it's the right thing to do because. And what makes her phony outrage doubly stupid is that the performance of Lift Every Voice and Sing isn't new at all. The NFL has had that song performed before their games every year since 2020, following the murder of George Floyd. So either Megyn Kelly hasn't actually watched any NFL games in years, or she decided that she needed some material, and since the Super Bowl was trending, she figured she'd jump on this as a way to make herself relevant for a hot minute. Naturally, people are roasting her online because she seems to conveniently forget the second half of the Star-Spangled Banner that glorifies slavery. This is why white conservatives want to ban history books. By the way, if you want the full skinny on Francis Scott Key, I made him the subject of my 2022 4th of July address, which is on this YouTube channel. Okay, so Megyn Kelly was once again being a performative racist, and she was piled on because she's a horrible excuse for a human being, and nobody would be dumb enough to defend her, well, except for one person. A number of people thought that my video about Stephen Smith from a few weeks back was being a tad harsh on him, as if a battle between him and Jason Whitlock means that Stephen's the lesser of two evils. For that handful of ESPN fans who accidentally stumbled on my channel, you can take this as the proof that you can watch way too much TV and believe whatever idiots on your screen tell you, but that doesn't make it true. During the video, I also took a few minutes to analyze how Smith said that he was friends with and had some of Fox's worst racists on speed dial, like Mark Levin and Sean Hannity. Stephen Smith was proud of that. He bragged that this was a mark of him being open-minded. Clearly, he's trying to appeal to the kind of racist pukes who like Fox News. I guess in his empty head, he's expanding his audience. He said, "I'm sick and tired of folks out there, particularly in the black community, being so quick to throw out the word racism. When you throw out the word racism, do me a favor. Have more evidence before you do it, so it can't be dismissed via plausible deniability or something else." Now, I suppose Stephen Smith doesn't know that Megyn Kelly has made a career of spouting racist gibberish every chance she gets. It's precisely because there is a very long and very well documented history of racism for this woman that people call her racist. She defended the use of blackface. She even whined and complained that Jesus and Santa Claus are both white. This woman's gone out of her way to start racial controversies because all of her scandals have the same thing in common. Megyn Kelly gets mega triggered about anything involving black people. Any little thing, no matter how remote, or in the case of Santa Claus, a made-up Christmas mascot. She loses her mind and can't help but go on a rant. Everyone recognizes this fact is not new at all. This is not jumping to conclusions. This is pattern recognition. It's common sense. Something Stephen Smith could stand to get a little of. So he starts off his would-be defense of her by ignoring her years-long track record of racism. So when he said that he's pals with Fox News racist on-air figures, he's doubling down on what he actually thinks. He's going out of his way to defend Megyn Kelly, saying, "I don't find her statement to be racist. I find it to be, in her eyes, patriotic. I find it to be, in her eyes, self-righteous." He acts as if somebody being a patriotic racist isn't a thing, as if these are mutually exclusive concepts. Well, you can't be a racist if you're patriotic. You can't be a racist if you're self-righteous. Actually, it's people who like to wave the flag who tend to be the most racist because they equate country with race. And self-righteousness often is a cousin to racism because these white supremacists see themselves as being superior, so of course they're going to be sticking their chest out and beating their chest like Tarzan as they pretend that they're better. So Stephen Smith doesn't seem to even know what the hell he's talking about, but then again, that's exactly the reason that these white media companies have kept him around as their little pet. There's a reason that the Black Street doesn't fool with Stephen Smith. The reason his voice sounds like sandpaper is because his tongue was worn down to the bone by all those decades of shameless bootlicking. He shamelessly uses the white right's favorite talking point to attack black people with, mind you. Saying that something is racist, well, that only serves to dilute the meaning of the word when you say it so much. Now, this talking point has been out there for 150 years at least. Please tell me, has calling someone racist lost its meaning yet? White right-wingers and a few on the left have been saying that claptrap for decades. So far, it hasn't happened. Why? Because when black people call out racism, it's because something or someone is actually racist. When the racism goes away, then calling people racist will lose its meaning, but not before. These bootlicks get mad at black people. They yell and condescend to us constantly. You notice how Stephen Smith, he's got all these remarks for black folks. I'm angry about people. I'm sick and tired of folks out there, particularly in the black community, being so quick to throw out the word racism. He doesn't sit there and say, what about these white folks doing it? What do you know about racism? He's angry about people in the black community saying racism, but he's not sick and tired of the racist for being racist. They never do this with non-black people, the Megyn Kellys and others. These bootlicks only get outraged with black people, and that's because they're auditioning and performing for their white paymasters at these corporations, or for people who they're hoping to get some crumbs from, and they know this is what these white media executives want to see. This is how you show that you'll be a good little boy. My question for Stephen Smith and the rest of these bootlicks is, why can't we call a racist a racist? No one ever says that Fox News talking about reverse racism or any of their made-up claims of white victimhood would undermine or diminish the real claims of racism against white people. First of all, the people who control the economics, politics, and society, they don't get to claim that anyone's discriminating against them, because no one has the power to. Secondly, there's not enough, even of these phony claims, to actually constitute a problem. So the talking point of white victimhood is DOA. But nobody points out all the phony hoaxes where white people, including the police, get caught lying about someone menacing them because they're white, and how this makes the claims of anti-white whatever unbelievable. None of them ever does that. Stephen Smith certainly doesn't. Nobody points out Fox News' daily drumbeat about crime being out of control, even though crime in America is at historic lows, and how this constant hyperbole, exaggeration, and outright lies dilutes the effect of calling something crime. Nothing about how anyone never says that. Nobody says, man, if you keep calling everything crime and keep going to all these hysterics about crime, then people are going to say the crime clearly doesn't even matter anymore. Why, you're helping all of these woke prosecutors with all of these hysterics. Nobody ever says that. Because as long as you're not indicting the dominant society, then it's not a problem. You can traffic in any kind of lie you want, so long as it's lies that they agree with. But when black people bring the receipts and point out racism, suddenly Stephen A. Smith is angry. He's sick and tired. How is what he's doing any different than what he accused Jason Whitlock of? This is Stephen Smith pandering to white executives who he hopes to get money from. This putrid performance is meant to appeal to them. Megyn Kelly is simply indefensible. This woman has been putting on a show of phony outrage and anger about black people for decades. She gets triggered by anything that seems to even mention black people. Lift Every Voice and Sing doesn't attack or criticize white people or America. It's just a song, one that's been around since forever. But the fact that the song's been nicknamed the Black National Anthem, that was when she thought she spied an opportunity. This is a woman who gets angry about people saying that blackface isn't okay. She said blackface was just fine. Because who knows more about whether something is offensive or just plain racist than a blonde white woman, especially one who only seems to see racial offense if it's something that makes her feel as if whiteness isn't the end-all and be-all. I feel so enlightened now. Actually, my brain cells are shrieking in agony. She's made a career, such as it is, out of attacking black people and defending blatant anti-black racism. What she's trying to do, and what she's been failing at, is to duplicate Bill O'Reilly and Tucker Carlson's playbook. And she figures that she would become a megastar to the white right, but she's too stupid to understand they only looked at her past tense when she was younger and didn't have so many miles on her. When Roger Ailes came up with the idea of Fox News, the entire concept was infotainment, to create a putrid media fantasy meant to appeal to older white males of a particular political bent, and it worked. Fox News audience is overwhelmingly older white males. And why do they tune in? They get to see an artificial recreation of a wish fulfillment fantasy. You have a self-proclaimed news channel where people are shown inside something that looks like a TV news soundstage like you see on other networks. They sit around wearing suits or behind a desk like on a real news network. It's all cosplay. They talk about events of the day like a real news network, only they don't say anything that disagrees with their target demo's beliefs. It's all about a nonstop diet of bias confirmation. Fox News is a bubble, furnished with lies, hyperbole, and distortions. It's a safe space where the white supremacist snowflakes can be protected from anything that even remotely displeases them. It's pure psychological masturbation. Fox News takes people who are already willfully ignorant and sincerely stupid, and it infantilizes them by catering to the lowest common denominator in the society. Instead of telling them the pig-simple realities of the world that would at least smarten them up a little bit, instead it panders to their sick mentality and continues to dumb them down. Not that there's much work to do on that front. And of course, because the core audience for Fox are reprobates, you have to have some female skin to keep them engaged. So all the women on the network have to wear high-cut skirts and are positioned at the end of the couches so that their legs are always visible. This is what appeals to the Fox News crowd. That's the kind of news they want. And Megyn Kelly was one of these TV spokesmodels. None of the racist rubes who watched her were listening to anything she said, mainly because nothing she said was intelligent. They were looking at her as masturbatory material, though I gotta say, if you've been reduced to looking at Megyn Kelly as sexually attractive, all I can say is I sure hope your life sentence in prison is reduced, because even if I was stuck in an isolation ward for life, I would prefer to hang myself before having to see or hear from her. But Kelly's utter lack of intelligence or insight or even the ability to make herself interesting doesn't matter, because nobody actually watched Fox News for information. They watched it to be entertained. Fox News is just a TV show that pretends as if the white right's vile racism and asinine conspiracy theories are actually treated as fact instead of as the putrid delusions they really are. It's a version of what a news network should be for middle-aged men who thought American Pie is a modern classic. Stephen Smith gives passing lip service to black people being ostracized and marginalized and how hard it is to be black. He's right. And it's even harder when you have other black people lending their melanin to racist narratives that protect the bigots who marginalize us, and they begin attacking us for calling them out. There's a reason Disney chose to keep this clown on the payroll. While there's plenty of soulless Negroes out there who will gleefully sell their souls for a check, one dumber than Stephen Smith will be hard to find. He didn't go in on Megyn Kelly like he did Jason Whitlock, and he'll never do it, at least not with any white person who's racist, because his job is to be smiling and just a punching bag and to tell other people that it's okay to take shots at us too. The reason people are saying Megyn Kelly's remarks were racist is because they were, because she herself is a racist and always has been, the same way Stephen Smith will always be a bootlick. Maybe at next year's Super Bowl, the two of them can make up their own song to sing as a duet. They can call it Dumb and Dumber. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Aaron Ray, Starlet Thompson, Karen Blanchett, Carl Martin, and Troy Joyner. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.